This week, it's all about the DNC from the streets. We're bringing you marches, rallies, and speeches, interviews with activists, Bernie supporters, and non-affiliated protesters. From Philly, from our streets, this is Act Out. And don't ask me to toe the line, hold the line, fall in line, walk in line. This bottom line, murder for profit, this frack-happy bullshit is over the line. My threshold is reached, my calm is replete, the anger is rising, the people are rising. And what's so surprising is you act surprised when we fight back. Step back and consider the promises hope and change never delivered. The progress is coming, pardon the punning, but swallow this freedom juice. No right to know, but the label does show it's heavy like lead. A bevy of dead stamped with an eagle, the drone stands for freedom, follow the leader. How could it be that those of us, who've heard this before and see how it plays out for us in the world, don't want to get back in line for some more? The taste still does linger, and it's bitter. Your smiles and lip service lies won't make it taste sweeter, maybe for some, but us right here, we're done. And don't say that you speak for the ones in the street. We're out here because you don't speak for our needs. Greed is your creed, and nothing is left of the left that you heap, line after line, into every speech. At best, you're the center, but more so the right, as if you decided that that's the good fight, to pick up of pieces, conservative bits, 'cause your hollowed values felt lost and incomplete. The easiest thing then to do was just bail on the people and planet and market for sale. What better and faster and easier way to play that sick game, this lifelike charade? Keep all the talking points, people the same. The curtain will close while the smoke screen remains. And behind those locked doors, a new queen is named, hope and change maimed, justice and liberty beaten and tame. But when you open those curtains announcing her reign, I will not bow nor salute in her name. I will turn my back on all that she stands for, and I will push forward with those who can see, hear, and know that progress is not a coronation made and democracy slain. I reject this charade. I reject this sick game, and I will not fall in line. Welcome to Act Out. I'm Eleanor Goldfield, and this is your tipping point. So, the DNC. Queen Hillary was coronated, and her drones worked hard to keep dissenters in line, from shutting down Bernie delegates and using fake clapping, to chanting USA in order to drown out No More Wars chants. Hello, imperialism. The DNC on the inside appeared to be a small but important taste of what a Hillary presidency would look like. And most of the Bernie delegates did not want to jump in line for that. In fact, on Tuesday, Bernie delegates walked out of the convention as Clinton was officially named the nominee. They walked to the media tent and staged a sit-in, which somehow managed to miss most corporate media outlets despite the fact that protesters were quite literally in their way to report on anything else. Delegates said that they were protesting the Democratic Party stealing the primaries and the fact that their voices were being silenced by the machine in order to make Hillary the nominee. And on the outside, election fraud was a major theme as Bernie supporters held signs and marched against the DNC with chants like, "Hell no, DNC, we won't vote for Hillary." Indeed, the main dissenting theme of the DNC was this: "We reject your order to fall in line. We don't want your war. We don't want your greed. We don't want your profit over planet and people, and we do not want your goddamn candidate." And while some protesters, such as Code Pink, were able to take their banners and messages of peace and equality inside the convention center, the doses of dissent that we're bringing you happened outside the air-conditioned confines of the DNC. The police response appeared to be mild, but I should add that protesters stayed mostly on permitted streets and in free speech zones. Mary Catherine Roper from ACLU, Pennsylvania, had this to say when I asked her about police conduct. Outside the convention site in South Philadelphia, the police presence was enormous, but generally stayed on the side. Most of the officers were on bicycles, which they used to block access to the gates and fences when they thought people would try to breach the security perimeter. Riot police made a couple of appearances, the last on Thursday night in a bizarre incident when the riot squad marched up right after a 2-hour standoff between protesters and police at the gate had resolved. The commissioner was on site and immediately turned them around and sent them away. The Philly police detained a little over 100 protesters, most for climbing or breaching the security fences, who were issued civil citations and then released. There were a small number of those who scaled the fences who were arrested by federal agents and held overnight or longer and now face criminal charges in federal court. There was some use of force. Some of the police using their bicycles as barricades also pushed them at protesters, and one transit officer, not Philly police, used pepper spray through a security fence at protesters who appeared to be doing nothing but chanting. She said that overall, she felt the police conduct was restrained, and from what I saw personally, I'd have to mostly agree. And to be clear, I view this less as a show of police benevolence and more as a decision by activists and protesters to not cross the blue line. As these movements push forward, it's important to review these tactics and organize on the foundation of legitimate gains, disruption, and people power. Regardless, though, I can tell you that a lot of people left marches and rallies energized and inspired despite the despicable heat. The fight for justice continues, in the streets, in our movements, and against this system. So without further ado, here is your Act Out recap of the DNC.
I do not agree with her. How else can you win? What do you mean? It's not a win if she wins. It's not a win. I don't understand. We're going to continue to have war. Well, you like we can win. We vote for Cornel.
So we're here really to demand a continuance of for justice for the political revolution. Really, we know that Trump is not for us already. That's why we're all out here. But we also don't believe Hillary's for us either. She's an embodiment of the 1%, just the way Trump is. She actually serves Wall Street, right? Wall Street wants her, and there's a reason for that.
Ideally, I think it should be Jill Stein and Bernie Sanders. Yeah.
Talk about your sign, democracy is dead.
We just learned that this year, or a lot of us did. We woke up because of Bernie Sanders to just show us how the injustices that are done in this country that have been, being done to the people that have no voice. It's unbelievable. The corporations are ruling us and they're bribing our politicians. And that's how our government is being run. The corporations give them money and they do whatever they want. They don't listen to the people, and the people are suffering.
So what do we do about it?
We give them a lot of Bernie Sanders had great ideas. Give them $15 minimum wage. That's a good place to start. Hey, let's give some people health care. Let's give everyone health care like every other country does. Okay, that's a good thing too. Education, maybe kids that don't have any money, they would love to have an opportunity in this lifetime. Give them 2 years of trade school. Give them 4 years of business or a local college. It's really easy. We used to do it years ago. What happened? The golden handcuffs came across, and now all the politicians are bought, and it's disgusting. The greed is disgusting, and that's all. It's very upsetting.
So what's your plan for the election?
Jill Stein, I'm had it with this shit, I hope Trump takes it from her, because she's the biggest crook there is.
Right now, what we're doing is what we've always done, which is defend the rights of people and workers abroad and at home, regardless of race, gender, or class or anything. We defend the rights of all people. And also, besides from that, we're fighting, like I said, fighting for an anti-war government. And we believe in our analysis of before we can even get to the anti-war government, what we have to do is fight for decision-making power of all people. Right now we live in a country where we don't have decision-making power. We live in a world where we don't have decision-making power. We have officials that are pretty much selected and not elected, and that's a problem. That's one of the problems in the way.
I understand. It's all right.
Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like!
Show me what democracy looks like!
This is what democracy looks like! Occupy DNC! Occupy DNC! Occupy DNC! Occupy DNC! Occupy DNC!
You cannot have a revolutionary campaign inside of a counter-revolutionary political party. This campaign, the Bernie movement, our movement, its future is with independent politics in the form of the Green Party that will support this movement all the way until we prevail. This is a movement that brings us together for people, planet, and peace over profit.
I always remind my brothers and sisters, because I'm from Harlem, I remind people it's not just black and Latino people that have been lied to consistently about their history and their contributions to the world. Where is the white American history? Where is the American history of workers uniting to make sure that no 10-year-old children have to work in a steel mill? Right, you have to get paid overtime if they want to keep you for more than 10 hours a day. Where is that history? Why is it that people are lied to about the fact that workman's comp, that a person can't be fired for being pregnant or any of these things? Where did these rights come from? They weren't things that were given to us by the system. They were things that we fought for tooth and nail. Every single time they do something to our community, they are testing it on people with the least amount of political representation. You are on that menu as well, ladies and gentlemen. You're just on the back page, so maybe you don't see yourself in that light. But the reality is that for years and years and years, they were telling us and warning us about these terrible FEMA camps. Oh my God, they're gonna lock people in the camps. They'll put your whole family there. And you know what? There are families there. There are human beings in there. They just happen to be immigrants, so people turn a blind eye to them as if they're not human beings. Wow. They are human beings. No human being is illegal. Ladies and gentlemen. I am tired of the lies that are told. I'm tired of when people say, oh, you know, when you have a shooting in the black and Latino community, you guys don't care. Of course we care. It leaves a hole in our heart whenever anybody from our community is murdered. How dare you propagate such a racist lie? The difference is that if someone kills someone in our community and they're caught on camera or just have circumstantial evidence, they're going to prison. Even if you catch a person on camera, they throw the gun down and they laugh about it later on a website. This person gets a paid vacation. If there is no judiciary, there is only tyranny, ladies and gentlemen. I know there were people that had a lot of faith in their hearts. They wanted to see Bernie get up there and say something different than he did instead of the endorsement. But I remind people, even if I should fall, that doesn't mean people aren't going to rap anymore, huh? If one of you decides that you want to do something else or you have an accident, doesn't mean the movement stops. Ladies and gentlemen, the movement will continue without the figurehead. We cannot allow them to control the figurehead and control the movement. We are the movement. You can't buy all of us. You can't step on all of us.
We understand that we have a choice between a neo-fascist catastrophe and neoliberal disaster. We understand who Trump is. We understand who Clinton is. But we stand for truth, and the condition of truth is always to allow suffering to speak. And the reason why the Democratic Party has run out of gas is because it is so controlled by corporate elites. It is so controlled by big money. It is so controlled by big banks. They have lost sight of poor people and working people of all colors.
We think it's really hypocritical that we're spending all this money and welcoming filthy rich politicians and oligarchs, and meanwhile people are on the street literally everywhere in this end. And Philly has the highest rate of deep poverty of any of the major U.S. cities. So really it's about it's about our frustration, and it's about justice.
Do you feel that the Democratic Party represents the people?
Not at all, no. I think that the Democratic Party is squarely in the hands of corporations, and that the American people have no power compared to the corporations.
Hell no, DNC, we won't vote for Hillary. 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 Hell no, DNC.
I don't like the two-party system. There's very little difference between the two parties. As an environmental activist, Hillary hasn't spoke of a carbon tax. She doesn't want a carbon tax to be on the Democratic platform, and she's promoting fracking all over the world.
Well, I would say what's more important to me, rather than whether or not they leave the two-party system, is that they recognize that voting alone does not change things. Your vote is powerful in a way, but thanks to the influence of corporate money and corporate personhood and all of the money in politics and the lobbyists, our say is, I don't know, maybe like 1,000th as powerful as, or 1 millionth as powerful as a corporation, as, you know, Exxon, as BP, as Coke, as the other Koch brothers, which I usually like to call something else. But I think there's this real, I don't know, mystique in the air, or there's this recognition that we need to be, we need to transcend party politics in order to get actual things done. I think there are a lot of people going to both conventions who are frustrated and disappointed at their party's nominee, but I think in both instances, their party's nominee is just sort of emblematic of the decay of the party itself. Trump would not have been able to be the Republican nominee if the Republican Party had not fed itself on hate and bigotry for so many years. Clinton would not be the head of the Democratic Party at the moment if the Democrats had not constantly compromised and corporatized. And I think people are waking up to that. And even a lot of people who are going inside the conventions will be coming outside, and they'll be talking to people because they'll be frustrated by what they hear, because it's the same semi-inspirational claptrap that we hear at every convention that, you know, makes you feel good for a while, but then doesn't get anything done for the next 4 years. It's a very complicated moment where there's a lot of possibility, but there's a lot of possibility to go in very good directions and very bad directions. The fact that, you know, Trump is the Republican nominee shows us that there's a really large appetite for full fascism in this country. But the fact that Bernie Sanders got as far as he did, and the fact that both Jill Stein and Gary Johnson are polling much higher than they've ever done, is very encouraging. But I think what's more encouraging was what I said before about more and more people realizing that we have to do something more than vote. We have to do something more than, you know, keep our party loyalty in order to get something done. And I think there's a lot of potential and possibility in that recognition.
That status quo no longer owns any one of you who are standing out here today. If you out here today, it means you have heart. It means you have integrity. It means you recognize those who have lost their lives for us to vote today. And we will not cast that vote for anyone who is dishonest, disloyal, or not fit to lead our people.
I think she's an example of what a corrupt government we have, and the elections were not open. As we can see with the WikiLeaks emails, it was rigged against Bernie Sanders the whole time. So I don't think it's fair that she expects us to forget everything they did against us and now follow her.
So I just wrote whatever, private prison systems, the war, Goldman Sachs, Israel. She's also responsible for, foreign occupation, Honduras. There's so many things that we are not going to forget, and we need to make sure people know that this was not a coronation, that we're not going to forget this, and that we're just not going to follow through the Democratic Party after they stole the election.
This is what democracy looks like. Tell me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Our streets, no peace.
We have currently a Democratic presidential candidate who has been a war hawk historically for a long time, has voted on the Iraq War, has consistently voted for a regime change that has ended up endangering so many more lives than it's ended up saving. We've seen how rhetoric around vilifying Muslims and immigrants has actually been put into play by Democrats as well as Republicans, by Hillary as well as by Trump. And so we're here to connect those dots and to say, as veterans, we didn't make any sacrifices so that people's voices could be suppressed and so that minorities could be exploited to fight wars and to, basically keep the elite in charge.
I think that ultimately myself and a lot of folks in IVAW don't feel represented by either of the parties. I think ultimately there's an awareness that we're looking at militarism across the board. We're looking at it kind of in a foreign policy that sees bombs and weapons as the chief mechanism for negotiation as opposed to actual diplomacy. I think that as Emily touched on, we're tired of veterans being used as political props. We're also tired of seeing the destruction and rot on countries abroad, but also in Black and brown communities here at home. The fact that it's not lost on us that some of the same weapons and some of the same tactics that were used in Iraq and Afghanistan are also being used here in cities like Ferguson, like Baltimore, in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and a number of different places. So I think that we're out here. We've been at both conventions. We're out of the RNC. We're out here in the DNC right now. Really just to let folks know that we've got to do better. It's far past time that we demilitarize, and that neither of these parties have the solution right now, and that it's really going to be incumbent upon us to push whoever's in office to really come to that solution, and struggle around that.
Well, I feel it's important to be out here as somebody serving in the armed forces because I feel like it helps negate some of the damage I did while in the armed forces fighting some of these wars. Why I feel like the Democratic Party doesn't represent me is just because there's just two parties. I don't think any of them really represent anybody except for their donors. That's about it.
I think that neither party is offering realistic solutions for changing our foreign policy in such a way that would actually make America safer and make the world safer. I think that both major party presidential candidates advocate for foreign policy positions that are detrimental to our country and detrimental to peace and stability the world around. And as someone who served in the military, I feel it's my responsibility to speak out against whether it's the aggressive foreign policy positions of Hillary Clinton or the xenophobic, racist constituency that Donald Trump has cultivated in this election cycle.
Am I supposed to care about a woman being the first president of this country?
Not unless it's Jill.
That's correct. And the reason for that is because, do you know what? I think women matter in Honduras. I think they matter in Africa.
In Haiti.
I think women matter in Haiti. I think women matter in Palestine. I think they matter all over the world.
All women matter.
Not just American women. And so
a woman first president in this country when I don't have to deal with a farce. And that's what this process is. Well, you know, I'm sweating like crazy right now, but we have homeless people and poor people living on the corner of American and Somerset in Kensington right now. And they live like this every day. They're not here in the park as professional protesters. They live with nothing in this country. And yet we're gonna focus on who's got the craziest hat. We're gonna focus on who's doing whatever, trying to leap the fence or whatever. But we're not gonna concentrate on a stolen election, the fact that we don't have ballot access in this country, the fact that in 2012, when I was Dr. Jill Stein's running mate, we were handcuffed sideways to metal chairs and put in a warehouse for 9 hours because they couldn't afford to have us talking to media.
You're a hero.
Yes, she is!
This lady is a hero.
So, of course, yesterday when I decided to come here and was going to talk to all these different media forces, they decided that I had something to say, so they had to arrest me. So I lost my beans yesterday. We got plenty of beans. We refuse to proceed from this concept that there's not enough to go around. We need to stop talking about scarcity and realize that this is really about corporate greed. They control the elections. Our election process in America is a farce, and I invite you to eat some beans with us.
And that'll do it for this week's Dose of Dissent. Thank you so much for watching. Please spread and share this with all of your friends, foes, and people you don't know. A list of the organizations that people mentioned or are affiliated with are listed in the last slide, and be sure to follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and subscribe on YouTube. Back in the Devil's Den, good night and act out. And real quick, to keep independent, non-corporatized media like this show going, donate at Occupy.com/donate. If you'd like to donate directly to Act Out, visit Patreon.com/actout.